The control room was filled with excitement over Charys' victory. You see, I was right. Rammus boasted as if it was her achievement, and most of the participants nodded their heads. Yes. Most of them nodded their heads and indulged her. Beretta was too busy working on the calculations to intervene. Or rather, she is in the mode of giving up, as she always does. Benimaru, the second in command, was already on his way to the isolation level and was not here. This was Rammus's exclusive domain, and there was no room for Gabble or Ranga to interfere. However, this did not mean that the tension was gone. Some of the large screens were not working properly, and there was some noise. Needless to say, the isolation level was ahead. The battle was now at its conclusion. All that was left was to defeat Vega and cut off the isolation layer. And we just hope that everyone comes back safely. Rammus seemed to be making a fool of themselves, but that is the opposite of their anxiety. Believing in the success of the mission, Rammus waits for the call from Benimaru. And then, Benimaru went to the place. Diablo saw Benimaru's appearance and knew that the time was near. So far, so good. But he cannot be too careful. If Vega was going to make a move, now was the time. Diablo glanced at him, and Zijin nodded his head as if he knew what he was doing. It was a true communication. Just when he thought he was relieved, Vega shouted. Gahahaha. I knew that was the way to go. The tentacles crawled on the ground and wriggled, pretending to aim at Diablo. All at once they expanded and contracted, closing in on Mai at super speed. What? Mai senses the presence and turns her head, her face stained with astonishment at the sight of so many tentacles filling her field of vision. Mai, who had been supporting Dino and the others, had not been paying attention to Vega itself. She had never dreamed that she would be targeted. However, the tentacles never reach Mai. It's useless, Zijin says. Zijin's bugs are clear blue. It was clear and transparent and looked beautiful and fragile, but in reality, it was more powerful than a Pedo's. It is an offensive and defensive unit and even has an offensive capability through spatial rupture by Zijin's will. Vega's tentacles were blocked by it. Unable to even touch Mai, it was caught in the space-time fluctuation of the distortion field and scattered. Wow, am I being targeted? Mai realized after everything was over. Vega, who had been cornered, was deprived of his last hope. It had never been there to begin with, but it was enough to make Vega despair. Are you crazy? But it does not make things any better. That's impossible. I'm going to die here. That's unacceptable. Vega was at the height of confusion and fear. He wants to eat Mai and take her power. And his brilliant plan to escape from this place was completely thwarted as if he had been read. It was all so unsatisfying. A warrior as good as me should perish in such a place. But now there was nothing to do. Diablo, whom Vega had underestimated, was an even greater monster than he had imagined. It was as if he could see through everything Vega did, and no matter how he attacked, he could not get through. The evil dragon spawn who had been so reliable was also a disappointment. Seeing that a new warrior, Benimaru, had arrived here, he guessed that he had killed the one that had headed for the lower levels. At this point, Vega's comprehension had reached its limit. Being cornered and realizing that there was no more time left, his brain was activated to survive. Even so, Vega had no possibilities left. Diablo and his friends are definitely after something, and he doesn't think he can withstand it. Maybe Vega could survive with his newfound immortality, but he was not willing to gamble with life and death. Vega was frustrated. No one respected him, even though he had become a strongman by all accounts. He had no friends he could trust. He could not find a safe place to live. His heart was not satisfied. The desires were insatiable. It was natural. They are the result of Vega's actions. If they don't believe in them, how can they believe in you? Being strong and being arrogant will not help you. Vega could not understand that people see the true nature of things. You can't get what you want just by wanting it. You can give and get nothing back, but if you don't give, nothing will come of it. Vega has lived his life without knowing this. Although he has some sympathy for his background, he has many chances to be rehabilitated. In the end, therefore, he can conclude that the only person who should be held responsible for Vega's actions is himself. However, Vega did not take it well. He expressed his dissatisfaction with all his might, saying, "You've got to be kidding me, you son of a..." He shouted, expressing his dissatisfaction with his whole body. And at that moment, he thought of a forbidden move. That's right. It's impossible that I should be the only one to die. Then, let's take them all with us. Then I won't be lonely in the afterlife. This was exactly the possibility that Diablo had been worried about. He was too stupid. He was living haphazardly, without having any thought. He has the foolishness to change his principles on the spur of the moment, and to implement his ideas without examining them. Such a Vega was the reason why Diablo was wary that he might not be awakened to destructionism at that very moment. His premonition had come true. Vega smiles. Haha, I get it. I'll admit you're stronger than me, but I'm the one who's going to have the last laugh. Ha 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 ha. I should have done this from the beginning. The laughter turned into loud laughter, and Vega's evil presence became more and more intense. Diablo's tongue lashed out. He had anticipated the possibility of this happening, and had taken precautionary measures to contain the demonic bacteria that Vega was about to release. However, Vega's magical bacteria have been strengthened by the fusion with Zelanis's dark cells. To some extent, the air was already filled with cellular debris shed by Vega. The remnants of the tentacles seemed to have been transformed into the virulent bacteria. I didn't think it would be this much trouble. I didn't know it would be so nasty. In its original state, it would have been much easier to stop it, you bastard. Vega was getting stronger little by little during this battle. It seemed that he had even acquired some bad powers, which made Diablo uneasy. It was a good thing that he had prepared in advance that he would not be able to stop Vega's actions. Zakai. Diablo quickly implemented countermeasures. Vega's body is captured by Diablo's Temptation King Azazel. This severs Vega's consciousness from contact with the outside world. In an instant, Vega's goal is thwarted. In other words, Diablo prevented Vega from self-destructing. I see. So, he was trying to collapse his cells filled with this isolation hierarchy all at once. Although it is called collapse, the amount of energy Vega has in store is considerable, and what it means is a huge explosion. That's Diablo for you, Benimaru thought. That's right. Fools like him, who don't know what they're thinking, should be killed off quickly. Diablo was confident that he alone would survive, but it was difficult to predict the scale of the damage that would be inflicted on the others, who were now exhausted. Therefore, Diablo took measures to prevent it from happening. If the situation had not been as it was, Diablo would have taken care of Vega long ago. There is no telling what kind of disaster might happen if the uncertainties are kept alive. Since there was no point in keeping it alive, there was no need to forgive it. Anyway, after all the arrangements were completed, all they had to do was bury Vega and discard the isolation part. That was the plan, but now, Vega's evil dragon spawn has changed. Vega's misadventures have allowed him to gain more power. Ha 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 ha. I did it, that's me. That cry came from the evil dragon spawn. There were supposed to be 3 of them, but now only 1 is back. However, the face of one of them is Vega's, and it has a different presence from the previous ones. Vega's ultimate skill, Evil Dragon King Ozzy Dahaka, had the power of parallel thinking. Now, it was an evil dragon spawn. What? Diablo, Zijin, and Benimaru were the 3 who immediately recognized the danger. Dino and the others also realized the situation later. However, none of them could move. Diablo is busy trying to contain the main body of Vega. Benimaru activates space-time manipulation to connect this place with the evacuation site. Dino is happy to finally be able to rest. Pico and Gracia are the same as Dino. Apito also looked relieved and supported Zijin, who was tired from the battle. Zijin, too, hesitated to attack. Because Vega was covering Mai, who was protected by Zijin, jumped in front of Vega. This action was unexpected by Zijin, and he was too late. Vega seemed to have only thoughts in his evil dragon spawn, and did not seem to be able to use all of its powers. Even so, the fact that Vega was able to jump parallel thoughts from Diablo's extermination is a result of his persistence. If Vega had been able to escape from Diablo's parallel thought by eating Mai, he would have won the game. Even if he could not do so, Vega's resentment would have been relieved if he had blown himself up with everyone involved. Vega was spreading his malice, controlled by ugly feelings that were not even resentments. At least, if they could expel him with the isolation part. I knew this would happen. Because you were so persistent. Mai muttered nonchalantly as if she had given up. Her voice was small, but it echoed loudly in the quiet. What? Vega of Evil Dragon Spawn let out a dumb voice, and Mai gave her a challenging look. So I'll take you there. Somewhere far away to the unknown, where you won't be a nuisance to anyone. What the hell are you talking about? Vega asks desperately, but Mai doesn't answer. Hey, stop. Before Vega can refuse, Mai's Terramator is activated like a shining star. Mai, too, has not always been protected. She observed Vega and feared his stubbornness. And she had a faint premonition that this would happen. Therefore, she dared not to run away even though she knew that Vega was targeting her. She tried to protect everyone by sacrificing herself alone. The fading glow of Terra Mortel. In the end, the residue of Mai's thoughts reached Dino and the others. Goodbye, Dino. You were so handsome when you were serious. Thank you for giving me courage. Goodbye, Gracia. You were like a big sister. Goodbye, Pico. I know it's been a short time, but I feel like you've been a friend. Goodbye, everyone. Take care. I know that you who live forever will soon forget all about me. Mai's voice stops. Dino feels that if he remembers hers, she will be glad. Mai is gone, and the threat is over. There is no point in keeping the remaining Vega alive. Diablo takes care of it without hesitation. End of the world. There is no way to resist the collapse of the world. At this moment, Vega's body was destroyed. However, it is likely that the evil dragon spawn, which disappeared with Mai, has taken over the power of the main body, becoming the real Vega, and making a complete comeback. Diablo clicks his tongue in disgust. After all, Tensura was not to be trifled with. Never mind, Diablo changed his mind. Let's get this over with. They don't know how Vega has evolved since eating Zelanis. There are still cells of Vega in the isolation hierarchy. If left unchecked, they could have been resurrected by eating the monster. This was no time for sentimentality. What are you talking about, Dino? No, because... No. The problem is that you can't accomplish the mission because you're distracted by trivial feelings. Diablo said coolly. Dino understood that he was right. Well, let's at least send them a gift. At least, let's make it a big gesture. Benimaru said so and made arrangements. And everyone started to take action to put this idea into practice. In the meantime, Dino was alone in his thoughts. If Mai is willing to do it, she will get angry, won't she? Mai was a serious person who did not like to show off. And she didn't seem to like to be flashy. Dino remembered that, but he swallowed it down. The escape point that Benimaru connected with space-time manipulation was at the outer edge of the labyrinth. There is a good reason why it is called the outer edge of the labyrinth, even though it is inside the labyrinth. It is a space-time gap. The labyrinth is adjacent to the other world, that is, subspace, and is in contact with many other worlds. Therefore, if the outside of the labyrinth is the cardinal world, the inside of the labyrinth is called the outer edge.